Thank you so much for staying tuned. Welcome to the first discussion segment on this morning on ITV. It's all about fighting insecurity. Taking a look at the Rotimi Akeredolu's approach. Some of the opinion is because of the pronouncement, so to speak, which he later debunked. Some are saying he was under pressure, but the word has gone out already. And the words right now is like, particular sector of government is antagonizing another set of government saying, why must you make such a statement? After all, Nigerians have the right to live wherever they want to live. We're talking about forest reserve here. Yeah, what you call reservation area this time around is was apportioned to the forest, saying this is government forest reserve, so you have to come out. Right now, Moho took it a step further by organizing some people in Oyo, even in Ogun also. There were similar things that were done, but this time around it's like the indigents took laws into their hands. They went there, burnt houses of one Saraki Fulani. Yes, on the page of the newspaper in Ogun State. The matter is like something else, where allegedly some headsmen accompanied by soldiers went to a community harassing them, telling them that they are back and nobody should disturb them again. So many stories emanated because of that statement. Yes, so because of that law, or will I say enforcement of the bill, so to speak, in Ondo State. We'll take a look at all these fighting insecurity using the governor's approach, if it's going to help out at all. Because right now, particular set is saying, if you attack this group, you cause an instability in this country. With me here in the studio to talk about this, I have an Islamic scholar, political analyst. Join me to welcome Malam Niruddin Asenogia. Welcome, I appreciate your comments, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And I have a vibrant youth with me here in the studio, Uhunamu Ray Osaze. Welcome to TMI on this edition.
Good morning, and good morning, my viewers.
Okay, here we are. It's like the country is going through another phase. We've been through this phase before, thinking that we've overcome the phase, and here is the phase again coming back to play out itself. It all began when a proclamation was made. It's been there in the law, according to what we are told. The government forest reserve, leave the forest, come out, get yourself identified, for us to really reclaim our lives, so to speak, to ensure security of lives and properties, to fight against insurgents, to fight against bandits, to fight against kidnappers. And here we are today. Al-Haji, let me start off with you. What do you feel about this?
Well, thank you for having me. I think, for me, it's a most dolorous psychological phenomenon that at a time when we are in darkness, season of darkness and despondency, those who ought to superintend our affair, those who ought to give us hope, are implicated in the hemorrhage, so to speak, of that hope. Why does one say this? The provenance for all of the present crises is located at the statement that Akeredolu made. Some fellows have argued that what he had said was unconstitutional, that he didn't need to say so. Before what Akeredolu said would die down, the federal government, through the spokesperson, Garuba Shehu, had responded in a way that tended to exacerbate the situation. And one was tempted to ask, why is the presidency acting in a way that is suggestive that inducement is provided for the fructification of criminality? Why does one say this? Akeredolu, by virtue of the position or the office he occupies, is the chief security officer of his state. He has the responsibility to ensure that lives and property are secured. And once he gets a hint, once he has a feeling, once he's convinced that there are issues that will tend to jeopardize security, he has both a moral and legal obligation to act in a way that will stymie the possibility of that happening. That basically is what he's done. I am at sea when people, because I asked the question, are they talking from the 1999 Constitution as amended, or they talking from somewhere that, talking is from outer space? The provisions of the 1999 Constitutions are clear. Yes, the individual who is a Nigerian has a right. Section 43 of the Constitution explicitly says this. You have a right to be wherever you want to be and to own property. It's not a right that is so absolute. It's not a right that is not mitigated. The fact that I have a right to free movement, for example, does not include that I could walk into the studio uninvited. Does not mean that I could go into a particular space and just occupy that space because I have a right, whatever. If we were to do that, that would precipitate anarchy in society. I think the statement of Akeredolu was limpid. No ambiguity in it. For those of you who are in the forest, it was not even directed at some category of persons. For those of you who are in the forest, who are illegally occupying the forest, we are not saying go. Come out of the forest and meet with us. Document your stay in the forest. And the Commissioner for Agric Industry went further to say, for now we have close to 50,000 or more. I'm aware that that had been done in Edo State some couple of years back, that there are some forest reserve in Edo State where you have farmers who are not indigenes of Edo State. Some came from Kwara, from different whatever. But these fellows are legal occupants because they pay. They are regulated by the Ministry of Agriculture. And so you can't have someone somewhere where the individual occupies a space and he says, I have a right to occupy that space, regardless of the fact that the space was not a space that existed in a vacuum. So even if Akeredolu had misfired, and I do not say he did, because he has all of those. Again, when you look at the provision of the Land Use Act, Section 28 makes it explicitly clear that land is vested in the governor of a state on behalf of the people. And he has a right to revoke, even when you are a legitimate occupant of a space, the governor has a right to revoke, except that that right must not be laced with malice. He does that for the overall good of the public. For the overall good of the public. So if government, for example, at the highest level, had maintained an attitude of insouciance, some couple of months ago, I'm scandalized. If you want to say it's politics, Akeredolu is on his last leg. He's not going to commit to contest election anymore. So it's not to become relevant. You could say that in the case of Oton in Benue, but you are not likely going to fly with that in whatever. A first-class chief was killed in Ondo. A whole lot of persons have been decimated in Ondo by some persons who are suspected to have taken rescue. They have found a nook for themselves in this forest where they carry out their flagitious whatever activities. So you have a government that has a responsibility. The government has chosen, even though it had been in a state of somnolence for a long while, has chosen to become responsive to the ululation of the people by saying, we now will do what is absolutely necessary. If you are in our forest, let us know you. Do not be masked. We want to remove the veil. Let us know who this person is, that he is the herdsman, if he is an herdsman. We want to know you, and we can identify you. In the event that there are issues, and these issues happen in the space that you occupy, we know whom to meet to interrogate.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Balan. Well, Osaze, you heard him. He gave a very strong foundation to this discussion, talking about the statement or comment made by the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, and of course the response of Malam Gaba Shehu, the spokesperson of the president, is excavating, the tension, so to speak. And right now we have issues in Ogun, have issues in Oyo. It's like it's spreading across the southwest. What are your views and opinions?
Good. Thank you very much. Before we continue, we should remember that the governor is the chief security officer of every state. And in the long run, it is the duty, it is the constitutional duty and responsibility of the government to protect the interest of the citizens. You understand? Because I understand fully that one function of the government is protection of the people. So if you look at that area of Ondo, this is not the beginning. And this thing, or this act demonstrated by the headsmen, is gotten or has gotten to the apex already. If you look at it very well, they are interested in destroying farmlands, crops, and they normally, I was reading on the net that they normally, their major focus now is using on that age, in destruction of properties as far as kidnapping as well, majorly on highways and nights. You understand? And this is a problem that threatens the peace of mind of the people. For me, I am fully in support of the governor. But in the long run, I also urge the governor to please, the headsmen, to please command and dialogue with the government. But this dialogue is of two ways. Number one, the negative side and the positive side. Because if you keep dialoguing with these people, actually, it will give room for more, for other groups to come out and threaten the peace of mind of the people as well. So, in the long run, politically and constitutionally speaking, I'm not seeing any political art here. I'm not seeing any political plan here. For me, I just think that the governor is doing the right thing now. The 7 days ultimatum should strictly be adhered to. You understand? So that's my take on it.
All right, now if you take a look at the statement, some of the opinion that, look, you don't have any right to them to come out of where they want to reside. After all, they are Nigerians. You don't call it a part of the constitution. That was what Mayeti Allah brought up, saying we are all Nigerians. And of course, the presidency and the Guardian newspaper talked about all Nigerians being treated equally. Do you sense any unfair treatment in this matter?
There can be no unfair treatment. We just said so. I mean, if you say, Nigerians have a right to be everywhere, it does not mean that I could come to Kingsley's, Wilson's house and I just come and occupy a space there. It doesn't mean that wherever you are today, if you are on rent, you have a legitimate right to that place because you are in a relationship that is clearly defined by law with the owner of that whatever. If you have a building anywhere, you have gone through processes. If you occupy a space that is not yours, the owner of that space or the government has the right to activate the principles of law to bring about the forfeiture of trespass, of your trespass. So that argument does not fly. I can't go to anywhere and just say, because I'm a Nigerian, this is where I want to settle. This is where I want to settle. Akeredolu did not say, get out of my state. He doesn't have the right to do so. He said the forest is not a free forest. The forest is called government reserve forest. What does that tell you? It is owned. There is an owner. And so if you want to occupy the property, for heaven's sake, let us know you. Let us know you. Let us not forget that there is a precursor to all of this. It is the whole issue of insecurity. Why are we pretending? Is any one of us saying today that we enjoy this season of darkness and despondency? Tell me who moves from point A to point B today that is not enveloped in trepidation. Just tell me who is that person who sleeps soundly. These are not cook and bull stories. A whole lot of persons have been, whatever. A professor from Futa in Akure was kidnapped. Ransom was paid up to the tune of 10 million. The fellow was killed, even after that money was paid. Some couple of days ago, a lady had posted something on the WhatsApp group. My younger brother was traveling from Abuja to Warri. Somewhere along the line, he got kidnapped. So I made a comment and I said, when may God assist us? The lady sent me a private text, a chat, to say, please, madam, how do you help me with prayers and stuff like that? I said, okay, let's be praying together. They established contact with the family and made a demand for 9 million. The family said we didn't have that kind of money. The discussion continued. And finally, they paid after some days in captivity, some couple of days ago, about 3-4 days ago. The fellow was finally released when 1.5 million was paid. The kidnappers were so bodacious, saying that the distance between where we are, because it was somewhere in the axis between Ababu, or whatever they call it, and Abraka in Delta State, and Minna, Niger, where this fellow comes from, he saw that we cannot wait for you to begin to transport the money. Pay this money into an account. So if they had the impevidity to provide an account to which the money was to be transferred, it does mean that this air of impunity that menaces law and order derives its strength. And when we find people in the highest level of authority talking the way they are talking, either by body language and stuff like that, we begin to appreciate where the inducement is coming from. The fellow paid this money. I swear on my honor, I was discussing with this woman to say, were these persons from the southwest? He said, by God, they are these persons. The same that that have been talked about in Ondo. The fellow who said this is a Nupe person. So he had no, she had no basis to go bail for the people of the Niger that are assuming they were the ones who were involved. So we are not saying that there is the totality of, you know, you don't have a community where you say you are dealing with a totality of immaculate being. Just like you do not say that the totality of these persons in this community swim in putridity. But once we have identified, when you have a group of persons who have stigmatized, who have caused your clan or your tribe or your area to be profiled, what I think is responsible is not for us to become sentimentally attached to religion or to where we belong, because everybody is a victim. They have taken people of the same whatever. Do not forget that the spokesperson for the police, CP Uba, when he paraded some persons the other time, he paraded a kidnapper who comes from the same tribe we are talking about, who was himself kidnapped by those who were stronger than he, and he had to pay a ransom of 1.5.
Hold on. Kidnapper being kidnapped.
Of course, now it was there on national news. When he wanted to leverage on the fact that, but we are colleagues in this business, he got a shot. I mean, he was shot on the arm to tell them we mean business, and so he paid. So it is in our collective interest that we deal with this issue of insecurity. Let me tell you most frankly, in the forest area that Akeredolu had suddenly woken up to become concerned about, it is where the bulk of the farm work is done. Even in Edo, people don't go to farm. In the nation tears us in the face.
We'll come to that. You just hold on. Man. We will definitely come to that. But
a point he made just struck a chord in me, that a kidnapper was kidnapped. I mean, this is the height. This is just the height. I'll come back to you. Okay, Osaze, he talked about a particular client being, branded to be kidnappers, and you get to see reports when they are being apprehended. Yes, it's still from this tribe. You get to see majority of the kidnappers emanating. You go to our roads, our forests, you get to hear reports of this same tribe being accused of the ones responsible for this dastardly act. And here we are. A group is saying we are all Nigerians, we be treated equally. That statement you made, Governor, is incorrect. What do you think is the fear behind such response?
Yeah, the issue is we are all one Nigeria. That is not an issue. We are one. You understand? But the problem now is insecurity has to do with lack of protection. When you are not covered, we call it insecurity. And when you are fully covered, that is security. Yeah. You understand? So the problem now is we are all one Nigeria, and you are free, constitutionally free, to reside anywhere of your choice. But the fact that you are free doesn't mean that you should threaten the peace of mind of the people. There are two things here, the government and the people. It is the function of the government to fight every element of insecurity in a state or a country. You understand? So the issue now is, if there is a high level of insecurity in the state, we have to call on the governor, and if there is a high level of insecurity in the country, we have to call on the president. Looking at what is going on in Ondo now, I think I'm fully in support of the governor. Understand? Because this level of insecurity in Ondo is a big problem, especially in the western part and the southern part of Nigeria now. And these people are well known. The people who are involved and the sponsors behind, in one way or the other, I think they are well known. So what is the presidency doing concerning, what is their action concerning the problem of this insecurity? I believe if this happens, except this thing happen to those at the top, when I mean those at the top, I'm talking about the presidency, maybe it happens to one of their person, that's when they will come fully and take necessary action. Because security is a major element of every government. And if you watch very well, according to the Constitution, the function of every government is defense of the country against internal or external influence or aggression. But the problem now is, are we defended? We are not defended. Imagine a hustler, a person who starts a very small farmland, who just manage not to engage in any form of crime. Right now, we have kidnappers, we have herdsmen trying to stop them from doing that. The people are suffering. There's no job opportunities. Then I'm managing my own farm, land. And at the same time, there are this set of people who tend to threaten me. And imagine, I'm a low-income earner. You kidnap me or kidnap any of my family members. How do you expect me to raise money? So I'm fully in support of this 7 days ultimatum. And another problem again, which you look into, is that phrase, we are all one Nigeria, we are all one Nigeria. We know we are all one Nigeria. But indirectly speaking now, it is getting obvious that we are not all one Nigeria. Yes, we are not all one Nigeria. Because if we happen to be one Nigeria, a solution would have been offered to this very problem at hand now. So that is what I think.
Okay, it's like the fear of a Gaba show, so to speak, is beginning to emerge. You saw the reactions in Ogun, and of course the reaction also in Oyo. It's like it's spreading right now in the southwestern part of this country. Don't you think that his fears are like, germane?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, about attacks on this particular tribe.
No, what attack? You see, like I said...
Don't forget the case of Igodo.
No, you see, fortunately for them, Akeredolu is an APC man.
Yeah.
The presidency is occupied by APC. At different levels, they have channels of communication. If the presidency, it's just like a family setting, assuming the mother of the house didn't do well in disciplining a particular child, and the father comes in the open to say, hey, woman, you were wrong to have beaten that child. What do you think has happened? Incentive. That man has incentivized in discipline in that home. By the time the presidency says, Akeredolu, you have no right to do what you did, quoting the Constitution in a way that is skewed to benefit somebody or create the feeling or impression that someone is benefiting from that, there is a problem. I do not know how much talk Akeredolu, Shehu Garuba had made or done. I do not know the high-power delegation that moved from the presidency to Ondo when a first-class monarch was killed, murdered. When all of those persons who have died, have died. I do not know what was done to reinforce. The only justificatory basis for government is provision of security for lives and property. Government becomes OSHIOs once it is incapable to do this. And that is great. That's obviously what is coming to. So when you now talk about the whole issue of economic activities, would there be economic activity when there is discombobulation, when there is threat to life and whatever? If it is question of a group can survive, it doesn't matter whether the other group goes into decimation. Is that what creates a sense of one Nigeria? People can't go to farm anymore. People can't travel anymore. Each time I have daughters who are in higher institution, each time they travel through particular axes, I'm in a state of pathological neurosis until they get, and I'm monitoring by the whatever, in a way that discomforts even those children and those who are fellow passengers. Where have you gotten to now? How far have you gone? Until you say, oh, Dad, we have arrived safely. This is the same route this is the same route we could move. When I was a student in the University of Ilori, for example, I have a child there. When I was a student in the University of Ilori some 30-something, close to 40 years ago, I could go any hour of the day. The only fear you had was a vehicle was likely going to break down. Or maybe you encounter some armed robbers. If they get anything to take from you, you go. And that never happened. But today you don't even fear that. It is that I would not find my child. And if I eventually find her, she would have been violated by some animals. And unfortunately, these categories of persons do it an air of impunity. And so you see, when you say it is spreading, why is it spreading? Because people have come to the realization that we are now being choked by the seemingly aloofness on the part of government, especially at the apex level, that should have secured us. When you fail to do what you should have done, nature abhors a vacuum. Something will gravitate to occupy that space. And so the persons are simply saying, we either live as human beings or we die as human beings. We will not die in a state of pecuniary. And so that basically is what these persons are doing. We have allowed this to happen. My uncles, my nieces, my whatever, can't access the farm anymore. If they do, if they are lucky, they are taken into captivity. Whatever it is that they work for the whole of that, whatever, they give back to those persons who are doing nothing and who enjoy. And do not again forget that people are increasingly losing confidence. Somewhere in Anegbete, somebody was arrested as a kidnapper. And in all of the process, the video went viral. When he was being interrogated, he was just smiling. And I'll ask you, how many of those who have been arrested? Some staff and students of the University of Benin were kidnapped somewhere in Akeredolu, where they had gone on academic or whatever operation. They were persons from the geology, whatever. The vigilante in the area combed the bush and arrested a number, or at least arrested 2 of the kidnappers.
Still the forest.
From the forest, who came from the same area we are talking about. 9 months, 10 months, that was before the COVID era. No one of them has faced prosecution. Sometimes you find that those persons that were arrested today are back in circulation doing the business with more virulence. And so what does that tell you? It will mean that there are persons who are above the law. And so some persons are beginning to say, this impunity, this air of impunity is becoming too much for us to inhale. We have to verify it.
All right. Now, according to the Daily Post, there's this story, Sunday Igboho has returned his position that Fulani headsmen must leave Oyo State. This is like an offshoot of what happened in Ondo State. The order given by Akeredolu, leave the forest. Let's know who you are. If you go to Ogun State also, there's this fight, this conflict between Fulani headsmen. Now, is it right to generalize? I mean, saying that all of them must leave. Are all of these persons involved in this dastardly act? Osaze?
With all due respect, sir, I am fully in support of this ultimatum, that they should leave and they must leave. Because you can't try this in the north.
But all of them are there, most of them are there for genuine business.
They are there for genuine business. Oko are not the sponsors of this whole act. That is another question. How do we know that they are there for the genuine business? The genuine business is turning to something else. So I am fully in support that they should leave and they must leave, because you can't actually try this in the northern part of Nigeria. So this thing is mostly common in the west, in the south, and in the eastern part of Nigeria.
But in the north also, they're complaining about kidnapping and banditry also in the north.
They are complaining, but you can't compare it with that of the south.
It's worse there.
It's worse.
It's worse there. You see the unfortunate thing.
Them, because now, hold on, because the thing is that it's like it's trickling from the northern part of the country, and it's coming down to the southwest, the south, and every other region in Nigeria. It's like they're saturated already in the north, so they're coming down to the other parts of the country to make sure that the business prosper. And most of these they come in guise of headsmen, not the genuine headsmen. Take it up from there.
Yes, I understand, sir. But the problem now is, if you go to the north today, is it possible for a southerner to just take some cattle and destroy people's farmland? Is it possible? That is not possible, sir. But if you look at it very well, class, even if it is they are tormenting the northern part of Nigeria, it's quite and fully different from the south, sir, or the southwest, or so. You understand? So, because in the north, I think whatever happens there is just within them. So, I don't see any reason for the extension to this part of the country. So, the statement of saying that they should leave is a very correct one, and I'm fully in support, sir. Because sometimes you have to use force to ensure. If you remember the principles of fascism, the fascist movement repudiate peace and encourage war. Sometimes before there is peace in a society or a state, there must be what? War. You understand? So we've already experienced the war now. So we are going with the principle that says that everybody, all the headsmen, whether you are into genuine business or not, should evacuate the society. And I'm fully in support. Because if such ultimatum is not in place, the whole thing will keep rising on a daily basis. So that is this.
All right, now there's a statement that, look, if you keep doing this, you are putting us in a state of anarchy. Yes, a group said this. Meti Allah group representative said, look, if you keep attacking our people, you are putting Nigeria in, an uncomfortable situation that may lead to anarchy. Do you think they are right in making this statement?
Is Nigeria not already in a state of anarchy? Why are we parsimonious with the truth? I think the statement of Akeredolu was not, you get out of the state. Let us not take it out of context.
But that's what they're doing right now in Oyo and Ogun.
No, I am coming. You see, when you say Oyo, you do not take issues from the point of culmination. These issues have evolved. Do not forget that even the Alaafin of Oyo had cause to do a letter to Mr. President. In that letter, he had told President how much confidence he has in him, which he still has. Nothing has happened to dissipate that trust that he has in him and stuff like that. And what they have done at the local level to ensure that sanity prevails. And how all of that have been baffled by the recalcitrant or the perfidy of some of those persons they have entered into all of those peace treaty with. And so when Sunday, for example, wakes up one morning and say, you get out, situate it where the old whatever is. He has his own story to tell. I have gone to meet the Seriki, for example, whom they said he had asked to get out. To say, Seriki, talk to your boys. Seriki, how come that you are the chief negotiator between families of victims and the kidnappers? It will mean that there is a relationship between you and these persons. Take what the son of the late Sheikh Gumi is doing in the Kaduna axis. He has leverage on the respect that he enjoys from these same Fulani bandits. Some of them are not Nigerians, do not forget. Some of them are from Mali, Niger, and stuff like that. Because we have had friends who are themselves Fulani, who got kidnapped, and who said, while in captivity, those who kidnapped him, 3 of them Fulani from Nigeria extraction, others are non-Nigerians and stuff like that. So you have that clearly. Then the man said, if you have always related with these persons, unlike what Dr. Gumi is saying, this act is evil, you please give it up. It's not that he comes on behalf of victims of family, family victims, and he goes to them, okay, they want 10 naira, it's 5 naira they can provide, you take. You who had always facilitated this process, and it has become good business for you. Each time that does, of course, each time that does happen, you will come out living a life of opulence. It will mean that you will need that trade to perpetuate for you to continue to derive your own economic benefit. And so these are the issues. If the fellows now say, fine, do not again forget that when Akeredolu was to make this press statement, the leadership of Meiti Allah in Ondo State was there. And he stood up to speak, to say, well, we are worried about this. I think every genuine Nigerian should say, whoever is involved in an act of criminality is not my brother. Even if you were my biological son, you sequester yourself from me and say, let's deal with this situation, because it is all of us who are gravitating towards the precipice of annihilation if we do not arrest this drift.
All right, it's all about fighting insecurity. Rotimi Akeredolu's approach, some are for it, some are not too for it. I've seen offshoots of that comment. We've got to see what happened in Ogun, what happened in Oyo. Do you think other parts of the Southwest will imbibe these same methods, so to speak? What about the people in the Southeast, in the South? Is it going to be Operation Safeguard Your Own State? Going to the forest, anyone who doesn't belong to the forest or in the forest, they should evacuate the forest. After all, we heard of a testimony about a man that was kidnapped and taken to a forest. Yes, along Ekboma, that region, they went to the forest and he gave a horrible, horrible testimony of his experience in that particular forest. Should the forest be the targets right now by each government of various states to really tackle insecurity? Anyway, gentlemen, I really appreciate you right now for really coming. Usaze, thank you for coming. Malam Niruddin, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We want to go for a break. When we return, we will continue with this same discussion. Should other states emulate what Akeredolu is doing? Should other states emulate what Igbaho is doing? Yeah, that should be the name, right? What about what is going on in Ondo State? Is this a recipe for disaster or a recipe for a lasting solution in the fight against kidnapping, against insurgents, against insecurity? Stay with us. We'll be right back.